Lieutenant. His eyes scraped her, making her aware that she was wearing the same clothes she'd left in, and they were considerably rumpled. We were unaware of the time of your return, or, indeed, if you intended to return. Were we? She shrugged, and because she knew it offended him, peeled off her scarred leather jacket and held it out to his elegant hands. Is Rourke here? He is engaged on an interspace transmission. The Olympus Resort? Somerset's mouth puckered like a prune. I don't inquire as to Rourke's business. You know exactly what he's doing and when, she thought, but turned out of the wide, glittery hall toward the curve of the stairs. I'm going up. I need a bath. She tossed a glance over her shoulder. You can let him know where I am when he's finished his transmission. She climbed up to the master suite. Like Rourke, she rarely used the elevators. The moment she'd slammed the bedroom door behind her, she began to strip, leaving a trail of boots, jeans, shirt, and underwear in her wake on the way to the bath. She ordered the water at 102 degrees Fahrenheit, and as an afterthought, tossed in some of the salts Rourke had brought her back from Silas 3. They foamed into sea-green froth that smelled of fairy-tale woods. She all but rolled into the oversized marble tub, all but wept when the heat seeped into her aching bones. Drawing one deep breath, she submerged, held herself down for a count of 30 seconds, and surfaced with a sigh of sheer sensual pleasure. She kept her eyes closed and drifted. So he found her. Most people would have said she was relaxed. But then, Rourke thought, most people didn't really know and certainly didn't understand Eve Dallas. He was more intimate with her, closer to her mind and heart than he had ever been with another. Yet there were still pockets of her he had yet to plumb. She was, always, a fascinating learning experience. She was naked, dipped to her chin in steamy water and perfumed bubbles. Her face was flushed from the heat, her eyes closed, but she wasn't relaxed. He could see the tension in the hand that was fisted on the wide ledge of the tub, in the faint frown between her eyes. No, Eve was thinking, he mused, and worrying, and planning. He moved quietly, as he had grown up doing in the alleyways of Dublin, along wharves and the stinking streets of cities everywhere. When he sat on the ledge to watch her, she didn't stir for several minutes. He knew the instant she sensed him beside her. Her eyes opened, the golden brown clear and alert as they latched onto his amused blue. As always, just the sight of him gave her a quick inner jolt. His face was like a painting, a depiction in perfect oils of some fallen angel. The sheer beauty of it, framed by all that rich black hair, was forever a surprise to her. She cocked a brow, tilted her head. Pervert. It's my tub. Watching her still, he slid an elegant hand through the bubbles into the water and along the side of her breast. You'll boil in there. I like it hot. I needed it hot. You've had a difficult day. He would know, she thought, struggling not to resent it. He knew everything. She only moved her shoulder as he rose and went to the automated bar built into the tiles. It hummed briefly as it served up 2 glasses of wine in faceted crystal. He came back, sat on the ledge again, and handed her a glass. You haven't slept. You haven't eaten. It goes with the territory. The wine tasted like liquid gold. Nonetheless, you worry me, Lieutenant. You worry too easily. I love you. It flustered her to hear him say it in that lovely voice that hinted of Irish mists, to know that somehow, incredibly, it was true. Since she had no answer to give him, she frowned into her wine. He said nothing until he'd managed to tuck away irritation at her lack of response. Can you tell me what happened to Cicely Towers? You knew her, Eve countered. Not well. A light social acquaintance. Some business dealings, mostly through her former husband. He sipped his wine, watched the steam rise from her bath. I found her admirable, wise and dangerous. Eve scooted up until the water lapped at the tops of her breasts. Dangerous? To you? Not directly. His lips curved slightly before he brought the wine to them. To nefarious practices, to illegalities, small and large, to the criminal mind. She was very like you in that respect. It's fortunate I've mended my ways. Eve wasn't entirely sure of that, but she let it slide. Through your business dealings and your light social acquaintance, are you aware of anyone who would have wanted her dead? He sipped again, more deeply. Is this an interrogation, Lieutenant? It was the smile in his voice that rubbed her wrong. It can be, she said shortly. As you like. He rose, set his glass aside, and began to unbutton his shirt. What are you doing? Getting into the swim, so to speak. He tossed the shirt aside, unhooked his trousers. If I'm going to be questioned by a naked cop in my own tub, the least I can do is join her. Damn it, Rourke, this is murder. He winced as the hot water all but scalded him. You're telling me? He faced her across the sea of froth. What is it in me that is so perverse it thrives on ruffling you? And, he continued before she could give him her short, pithy opinion, what is it about you that pulls at me, even when you're sitting there with an invisible badge pinned to your lovely breast? He skimmed a hand under, along her ankle, her calf, and to the spot on the back of her knee he knew weakened her. I want you, he murmured. Right now. Her hand had gone limp on the stem of her glass before she managed to shift away. Talk to me about Cicely Towers. Philosophically, Rourke settled back. He had no intention of letting her out of the tub until he was finished, so he could afford patience. She, her former husband, and George Hammett were on the board of one of my divisions, Mercury, named after the god of speed. Import-export for the most part. Shipping, deliveries, rapid transports. I know what Mercury is, she said testily, dealing with the annoyance of not knowing that, too, was one of his companies. It was a poorly organized and failing business when I acquired it about 10 years ago. Marco Angelini, Cicely's ex, invested, as did she. They were still married at the time, I believe, or just divorced. The termination of their marriage apparently was as amicable as such things can be. Hammett was also an investor. I don't believe he became personally involved with Cicely until some years later. And this triangle, Angelini, Towers, Hammett, was that amicable too? It seems so. Idly, he tapped a tile. When it flipped open to reveal the hidden panel, he programmed in music, something low and weepy. If you're worried about my end of it, it was business, and successful business at that. How much smuggling does Mercury do? His grin flashed. Really, Lieutenant? Water lapped as she sat forward. Don't play games with me, Rourke. Eve, it's my fondest wish to do just that.